I'm going to do this in kind of a question and answer format at the beginning to try to put things out there for you, and then I have, if we need to, we can look at some pictures of more details about how I typically talk about this to students. So I'm going to put some questions out there, give you some answers. I'm calling it Jeopardy because these are things you could say on a tour or to a prospective student that don't necessarily have to be associated with those questions, okay? It's things that go on in the College of Business. What's happening in the CBA, and because it's question and answers, I'm calling it kind of a Jeopardy way to look at it. CBA is important to me. I do not like COB, okay? 2 reasons. I don't like the Cobb way of saying COB, College of Business, and that's not our name. Our name is College of Business Administration. If you don't want an ugly email back to you from me, don't say COB. Okay, what's this picture? This is one of the big things that the College of Business has been involved in for about 20 years is international stuff. This is an experiment in 2 ways. This is the first time we ever tried anything in what has been called maybe the winter term. So this was a trip we did the day after Christmas until a couple of days before school started, and it's to Thailand. And in the nature of some self-disclosure, I just put a picture that has me in it sitting on an elephant. It was exciting. Everything about being there was exciting, all colorful and all that. But I'm looking a little confident there because I thought I'm just going to ride this elephant like, around a little circle, like a kid's pony ride or something. But that's not the way it was. They took off across a river and up a mountain and along little ledges where I was just sure this elephant was going to fall over the edge, but it didn't do that. So about 10 minutes after that, I had a pretty different look on my face. Maybe like this one. So here's another picture of the Thailand trip. See what that is? That's a Burmese python hanging around my neck. For which you can't see my eyes, but I'm looking pretty confident there too. Then this thing keeps getting closer and closer. So can you see this next picture? I'm like this. Like I'm get this thing off of me there. So we do trips. We do trips all over the place, and we try to do cultural, local, as well as business things. So that's one of the things we can talk about in a minute. But that's not why you're here. Here are the 5 questions that I want to try to answer. I always pose to students an investment bargain. What do we expect out of you and what you're going to get in return? Okay, the Winthrop experience in general is based on students providing some things and us making a promise to them that we will provide the other half of the bargain. So we'll talk about that for a minute. We'll talk about the student's obligation, pretty detailed. I'm pretty quick to tell students you have to be involved, engaged. You can't just sit around and hope to soak some things up and become an educated person. You might get a degree that way, but you won't be really very well educated if you don't take advantage of opportunities and get engaged in some things. So we'll talk about that. What do we promise each student? We'll talk about that, the kind of things that are going on. The focus of the instructional program, the things that are important to us. And lastly, what evidence do you have of quality? I know there was a time when the admissions people talked about some of those kinds of questions. Do you have the program I'm interested in? Is it any good? What happens to people who take it? Can I get in? Can I afford it? Some series like that. So this is for you. I have about 15 minutes, I think. But if anything I can say or do will help some of this stick with you, then I will be happy. So you will know some things about the College of Business when you walk by Thurman yourself, or you walk by with prospective students or friends or anybody else. Okay. As I said, what we ask of students to invest their time and effort finding the learning activities that appeal to them to be an active, engaged learner. Without that, you're just kind of going through the motions, okay? And there's a lot of wasted time. I know for students, sometimes it's hard for them to accept, but the most valuable asset they have is their time. So if somebody's asking them to come here, spend money, the parents don't need any investment counseling. The parents are fully aware of the investment they're making. But as students, the investment we ask of you is time. And we promise in return then to provide multiple meaningful learning opportunities. So that's what makes it work. Students are ready to grab things that appeal to them as they see them, and we're ready to continue to put out those learning opportunities until we find the things that make the biggest difference. Okay? So we talk about those kind of things. What do we talk about? Student organizations, everybody knows about student organizations. We have about 12 student organizations. Some of them are associated with the discipline, some of them are not necessarily associated with the discipline, like the accounting club or the marketing club or the finance club, but some of them are involved in things like competitive activities, like SIFE. You may have heard of SIFE, Students in Free Enterprise. It's an activity that is designed to help college students in business touch the next generation of potential business leaders. Okay, that involves everything from a Hispanic fair to a fourth grade ice cream table set up at Fort Mill Elementary School or something like that. So, Students in Free Enterprise. We always say that, you know, Winthrop athletic teams are competitive. They like to play the best competition they can. Well, we feel the same way. And Students in Free Enterprise is a competitive venture. Right about now, there will be a regional and then a national competition. And 7 out of the last 8 years, we have won the regional competition, and our group of presenting students have been able to go off to wherever the national meetings are and make our case. So far, we haven't won a national competition, but still students get to go interact with business people, other students, and they go to Chicago or Kansas City or Dallas or Los Angeles or wherever they might be held. Study abroad, there's all kinds of ways to do study abroad, long-term, short-term, whole semester, or in one of the trips, and I'll talk more about them in a minute. And as I said, trips as adventurous as you want. We have relatively safe trips. And safe, I don't mean safe from terror or any of that kind of thing. I mean safe as in you don't have to be the most experienced or adventurous travel to go to London, Paris, down to the south of France and Montpellier and over to Barcelona or Amsterdam or something like that. So we do a safe Western Europe trip mainly for undergraduates during spring break. And you can get 3 hours of credit for that. So trips are a big thing. We'll talk more about that in a minute. As I said, we are big on a study environment that matches the environment you'll live in for the rest of your life. That means every kind of demographic diversity you can think of is on our radar screen. That means old, young, gender. About the College of Business is about 50-50 gender-wise, male to female. Unlike the rest of the university, we have a very high percentage of African Americans. We have older students, we have younger students, we have single mothers, we have single fathers, we have all kinds of domestic diversity, and we have international students. If you look, whatever numbers you know about international students, most of them are in the College of Business. In no category, I think, is it under 60%, okay, of international students who are College of Business. So if you can't travel, can't afford to travel, don't want to travel, the next best way to become comfortable with people from places other than your own is to have them in class with you and to do projects. The biggest concentration of students we have is from France and Spain, from Saudi Arabia, and from China. And so you will see those kinds of students, as well as all sorts of others, many of them athletes.